Welcome to Baghdad, the capital of Iraq. I could take the easy route here and describe it to you as a city of contrasts, but that would be a massive cliché. It's a city that bears signs of conflict and war on almost every corner. You can't ignore them, and neither should you. But, almost to my surprise, it also turns out to be a city full of neon lights, life, energy, and youth. Look, I am under no illusions. This film will give you only the tiniest glimpse into Baghdad. But who knows? Maybe even a tiny glimpse can open a completely new horizon. Look, I'm not gonna go easy on you. We're gonna start this video with some serious food content. This is Samoon flatbread, and it's about to become the most delicious sandwich ever. Get ready. This is a tiny little lunchtime restaurant where people from all walks of life come just to have a little quick light lunch, and we have been allowed to come backstage into the kitchen to see how they prepare all this delicious, gorgeous local food. So before biting into it, which I'm really excited about by the way, let's take a look at how they make it. Freshly mashed hummus, flame-kissed aubergines, crispy and decadent falafel, oh just look at it. Topped with pickled veggies, this top secret sauce, and our heavenly pockets are ready. Don't forget to grab a bottle of refreshing fermented milk to help digest it all.
My name is Ehala. Restaurant 1991 in here. But before this, 1956, I learned this on restaurant and university, finish economy.
And what's your special food? What do you make?
Cheese up, hummus, cheese up.
Here we go. Check this out. This is a beautiful little bread pocket just stuffed with delicious goodness. So there's got, of course, it's got French fries. Of course, it's got eggplant. It's got fresh salad. It's got hummus and falafel. Oh my God, this is a vegetarian's dream. You cannot beat this hummus. You cannot beat it. Oh my God. So fresh, so delicious. It's a great introduction into Iraqi cuisine. This video is a little bit different from all my other videos. As I'm sure you've already noticed, this time I'm here with a small camera crew, which is unusual, and which makes it a lot easier to enjoy all this amazing food and observe Baghdad. Let's head to one of the most traditional parts of town. Welcome to the Copper Market of Baghdad. I love places like this because they remind you of the rich history and culture and heritage here. It probably isn't like it was 100 or 200 years ago, but I'm sure we can find some beautiful things in here. So I guess let's go in deeper, see what we can find. Baghdad's Copper Market has been around since the Abbasid dynasty ruled over these lands. That's about 1,000 years ago, during the so-called Golden Age of Islam. Back then, the market's artisans were known across the entire region for their skill. But the last decades have not been kind to Iraqi craftsmen. So this place looks a little bit empty, you know? There's only a few shops open.
Yes, this market was full of tourists, full of local people who like this stuff, like antiques, copper, authentic objects. And people who make this also were many.
Right.
But because of wars, because of lack of understanding this cultural objects, unfortunately it's empty.
Wow. Mr. Ammar is one of the last remaining coppersmiths in this ancient market. Artisans like him are now a rare breed.
أنا الحاج عامر عبد المحسن ابن سعيد ابن صالح ابن جواد الصفار. أنا هنا خامس شخص بهذا المحل. المحل صار له تقريبا يعني حسب ما قالوا اجدادنا ب 600 سنه، فوق 600 سنه المحل. يعني تعلمت من والدي صناعه دلال القهوه. والدي متعلمها من جدي، وجدي متعلمها من ابوه، وابوه متعلمها من ابوه الثاني. السوق على وشك الانقراض. السوق على وشك الانقراض، باقي تقريبا 15 او 16 محل من مجموع 132 محل. بس الصفر الناس استغنت عنه، اشتغلت بالفافون او الالمنيوم. الشخص من يتوفى ماكو احد بمكانه يشتغل، مثلا ابنه حتى يعلم الشغله. فالمحل يروح. الاساس هو انه هي الحكومه المفروض تحافظ عليه، مو احنا نحافظ عليه. تحافظ عليه بوسائل هوايه بحيث تخلي السوق الصفافير باقي على وضعيته.
I would like to buy something from your shop. What can you recommend? Something that you or your family have made.
Okay. This one for my father.
Your father made this one. How many years ago?
This about 50 years or 60 years.
And what can I do with it? Coffee, chai?
For coffee, for tea, for milk.
All made by hand by your father?
By hand in Baghdad.
All right.
My father.
The thing about souvenirs like these is that they're not just sort of random factory-made objects, right? They are, I like to think, pieces of someone's soul. So Mr. Ammar's father made this one, he says 50 years ago or 70 years ago, he doesn't know exactly. But in any case, there was once a man here who spent much of his life in this very shop, who studied how to make copper into beautiful objects and who spent most of his time doing that. And this is just a small part of his heritage. I don't know. I feel like this definitely beats a fridge magnet. You know what I mean? Just around the corner from here is a place that I've been wanting to see for years. And I can't quite believe I'm finally here. Baghdad has been on my bucket list for years, but it's not for any of the usual reasons. Actually, the main reason why I've wanted to visit Baghdad for such a long time is because I'm a total bookworm. Studied literature at university, I love books. And Baghdad has one of the oldest book markets in the entire world. There's a saying in the Middle East which goes like this: Cairo writes, Beirut prints, and Baghdad reads. The Al-Mutanabbi book market is one of the oldest of its kind in the world and has been attracting readers for centuries. The wars in Iraq have not been kind to culture, and the demand for books has plummeted over the last decades. A lot of the books that you see here today are textbooks for students, not necessarily literary masterpieces. Still, I managed to snatch a couple of interesting titles. From books about women traveling and living alone to Marxist sociology in Hungary to novels and poetry, I've picked out Alice's Adventures in Wonderland from the 30s and a book of English verse. $3 for both? Not bad. So of course there's the market section of Market Street, but there's another spot right here where people from all different kinds of backgrounds come here to meet and discuss. It could be books, it could be ideas, it could be what happened to their aunt's brother's son. We'll never know. In any case, this is a kind of like a melting pot, a meeting hub for people to come and share in conversation every Friday morning. This cafe on the corner of the market looks pretty unassuming from the outside, but the moment you step inside, it's like the story of Baghdad unveiling in front of your eyes. Portraits of the city's greatest, snapshots of history, the poetry of living time, all sweetened with a cup of lime tea. It's super refreshing, almost like juice, right?
That is a tea.
See, I always put lemon and sugar in my chai to make it more like this.
Yeah.
But this is the real deal.
This is the real one.
Oh my God, this might just be my favorite chai in the world. But reality isn't always as sweet as tea. In 2007, a suicide car bomb went off just outside of the cafe, in the heart of the book market. It left a hole 3 meters deep in the pavement. In this one single attack, the cafe's owner lost 4 of his sons and 1 grandson. This too is the story of Baghdad. While walking around another part of town, we stumbled upon this spot, a tiny corner tucked away in a side alley where local artists spend their days painting. I bought this piece for $20, which made me wonder, With tourists few and far between, how do these artists even make a living? In fact, does tourism even exist in Iraq? My guide, Ali, would have the answer to that question. So we don't usually think of like tourism and Iraq kind of put together, but you have a travel startup right here in Baghdad. So tell me more about tourism in Iraq.
Yeah, Iraq has been through a lot, struggled a lot with wars, with unstable situation, terrorism, stereotypes, a lot of things about Baghdad when you hear about Iraq in general. Me, myself, wanted to have a tour to Babylon and to Ur and to marshes and other many sites around Mesopotamia. I couldn't find any agency, any travel agency from Iraq take me there. So I thought it's like a problem, and this problem needs to have a solution.
And Ali's solution was to launch Iraq's first contemporary startup for travel. He began to negotiate with various ministries to open up Iraq's historic sites on weekends and started to organize trips for locals and foreigners to explore his country. Luckily for him and us, Iraq happened to launch a visa on arrival scheme for tourists after the Pope's visit in 2021. And in terms of marketing Iraq as a tourism destination, well, seems like social media had something to do with it.
So people, they started to rethink about Iraq, not only what they hear from the media, but what they actually see from the social media.
So good. The thing about these juices is that here in some of the cities of the Middle East, they're so fresh and so cheap and so plentiful that, you know, I feel like I could just go around the city drinking this all day. So delicious. And it's healthy, right? It's a healthy pleasure. I spent a while chatting with the owner of the stall in German, since he'd lived and worked in Europe for a few years. His story isn't that unusual for Iraq. Estimates say that about 15% of all Iraqis have left their country, either in search of better economic opportunities or fleeing war. Back when I was a school kid, I remember learning about ancient Iraq and ancient Mesopotamia. My textbooks described it as the cradle of civilization, nourished by the great rivers Tigris and Euphrates. And today, I can't believe I'm about to actually see and touch the river Tigris in real life. This is history on my finger, pure history. How has the river changed since, the time that it was a great river? I mean, these days there's been some new developments of dams and things like that. Do you see those changes here in Baghdad?
Of course, the level of the river is decreasing every year, every few years, because of other countries, the neighboring countries, building dams and not accepting going in direct negotiations and all of this politics. But also, there is lack of awareness of us, of Iraqi people. But again, this river means life.
So I have to admit, it feels a little bit surreal to be right here, floating on a tiny little boat in the middle of the Tigris River. Writing, reading, culture, laws, all of this began here, right here, on these lands. And it's 2021 now, so it's a little bit later on in time. So being here on this river that has witnessed all of this history actually feels like being a time traveler, not just a traveler. You feel like you're part of that history, like you're a witness to it in some ways. And I think that's quite a magical thing about travel. And you only experience that feeling in some places. And this is one of them. But before leaving Baghdad, there's one other person I knew I needed to meet. She's a true game changer, a pioneer in what she does, and a ray of hope for so many women in Iraq. Noor, who recently became something of a social media celebrity, lives and works in an unassuming residential neighborhood of Baghdad. Only a decade ago, this district became an Al-Qaeda stronghold. Thankfully, those times are a thing of the past. Let's go and meet her.
أنا نور الجنابي من بغداد، عمري 27 سنة، متزوجة وعندي 4 أطفال. هوايتي من فترة طويلة هي النجارة. أحب العدد، أحب الأدوات، كلش أحب أستعملهم. يمكن هم يعطوني إلهام أكثر من الكوزمتيك. هي كهواية أنفذ بها بعض الأشياء البيتي، لحد ما مرة طلبت من عندي صديقتي أنه أشتغل لها بغرفة نومها. صبغت لها إياه وغيرت بديزاينها وميز تواليت، فكلش حبتها وهي كلش طلعت يعني. فهنا أنا قررت أنه أنا أدخل هذا العالم أو أدخل هذا المجال، وقررت أنه تصير لي مهنة يعني، وبالوقت نفسه هي تكون مصدر دخل إلي. فهنا أنا حسيت أنه الشيء اللي أنا كنت حابة أسويه لنفسي والمستقبلي، واللي حابة أنه أثبت نفسي به، ففكرت أنه أنا أصير صاحبة محتوى، أنه أنزل مقاطع، أنه العالم تعرف أنه أنا شغلي وهذه بنية تشتغل، ومقاطع صغيرة من شغلي أمنتجها بفيديو وأنزلها. ويا أول فيديوهات نزلتها يعني شفت كمية طاقة إيجابية أعطوني إياها يعني المتابعين، كلش حلوة، كلش حبيت، كلش شجعوني أنه أنا أول محتوى يعني كبنية أنه بلدنا يعني كالعراق يعني يقولون أنه مفيد، أنه دا يشجع البنات.
And by doing that, Noor scored a bullseye. Some of her videos have gained millions of views on Instagram and TikTok in Iraq and beyond, making Noor quite possibly the most famous female carpenter in the world.
مجتمع كلش محافظ، من بيئة كلش محافظة على البنات خصوصي. عندهم البنت يعني كلش صعب إنه تشتغل بوظيفة، يعني مو دا تنتهي المهنة مثلا. فمن دخلت يعني الغالبية يعني شلون قالوا إنه أنت ما حتنجحين، إنه أنت ما حتقدرين تستمرين. بس الحمد لله أنا قدرت يعني أنجح وقدرت أوصل. كمجتمع يعني هو ما حاربني إليه، بس سابقا هو كلش يعني ما متقبل هاي إنه بنية تشتغل هذه المهنة، لأنه هذه المهنة يعني هي كلش صعبة على البنات. بس أنا يمكن حبيتها لأنه هي هوايتي، أو لأنه أنا أحب هذه الأشياء. دا أحاول أوصل رسالة للبنات أو لمجتمعنا، أو دا أحاول أغير فد نمطية حتى لو مهما كانت بسيطة بمجتمعنا. مو شرط إنه تشتغل نفس مهنتي، يعني أنا نجار، يجوز هي يعني هو أهم شيء الواحد يشتغل على نفسه، يطور قدراته هو، يطور مواهبه، الأشياء اللي يحبها هو. بس إحنا كمجتمع إحنا هواي يحارب البنية، يحاربها من كل النواحي، من ناحية إنه إذا طلعت بالشارع هو يحاربها. من تواجدت على السوشيال ميديا حاولت إنه أوصل رسالة، أنطي قوة للبنات يعني. طبعا هو الخشب يعني أنا أحسه بحد ذاته يعني هو شبه بالمعجزة. يعني هو قطعة ناخذها من الشجرة، كل شيء نسويها، ننحتها ونقسمها ونفصلها ونرجع نجمعها بالشكل والستايل اللي احنا نريده. أحس الخشب شلون دا ينطي حياة، يعني دا ينطينا شيء، فيعني شلون أحس أكو اتصال هيك روحاني إنه نقدر نحركه شلون ما نريد. فأحس إنه هو شلون دا يستجيب لهذا الاتصال. إن شاء الله على المدى القريب أفتح معمل إنه يكون غالبيته استاذة العمل نساء، وبنفس الوقت أفتح مدرسة تأهيلية لتأهيل البنات والنساء. الأعمال يعني هي يمكن فريدة من نوعها بالنسبة للنساء، كخياطة، كنجارة، كصبغ، كدوشمة. وبالوقت نفسيته إنه معملي يعني حيكون إنه أوفر لهم فرص عمل، إنه واللي حابة تكون عندها هي مهنة إلها، فهذه بعد هذه إلها يعني. أحلامي على المدى البعيد إنه يكون اسمي براند عالمي ومنتجاتي براند عالمي، وأنافس شركة آيكيا.
Thank you. Okay. خلاص finished. You did so great. Come on, wow. No, really. No, she did so great. Tell her this was one of the best interviews for me.
انت كلش عظيمة، وهي وحدة من أفضل المقابلات اللي مسويها.
Really?
Is it in Iraq or in the world?
Ever.
بالعالم.
Yes. So I guess that's what I'll leave you with today. No grand conclusions, no wise morals, no philosophizing, just a tiny glimpse into Baghdad, a city with a complex, painful, rich history, that defies all cliché.